question. Question period. Senator Plett.
Thank you, Speaker. My question again is for the government leader in the Senate. Leader, last week in Munich, the Prime Minister spoke of a world where we, and I quote, benefit from the free exchange of ideas where our differences enrich us. Just yesterday in the House, he said, and again I quote, we need to ensure that we also listen to each other. The reality of populism and its serene song in our democracies these days is a desire to listen only to ourselves and to people who agree with us and not to people from another perspective. Nice words, but the Prime Minister doesn't really believe them. Otherwise, he would never have excluded the leader of the official opposition, Andrew Scheer, from a meeting of leaders in the other place to discuss the ongoing rail blockades. Senator Gold, if the Prime Minister cannot even sit down with a fellow party leader, a fellow parliamentarian to discuss this, how does he expect to resolve this crisis?
Good question.
Senator Gold.
Thank you for your question. We all followed the news and the emergency debate with great interest. I think the Prime Minister made his position quite clear in his statements yesterday. He has been seeking with his colleagues and others a peaceful way forward to resolve a very complicated dispute that deals with First Nations, governance within nations, the Canadian economy, and many stakeholders and Canadians along the way. He stated quite clearly that in seeking the advice of colleagues in Parliament, he was looking for those who seemed to be committed, as this government is, to finding a negotiated solution based upon respect and dialogue. He stated, and we all heard it, that in his opinion, the statement and speech of the leader of the opposition clearly indicated a very different conception of how to move forward, and the Prime Minister judged that it was better for him to pursue the discussions with those who shared his vision for moving forward.
Senator Plett.
Wow.
I don't know how to respond to that answer, but Senator Gold,
You agree with him?
I spoke yesterday about the terrible impact the rail service disruption is having on our prairie farmers. Mr. Scheer leads the federal party that represents these farmers, having won all seats in Alberta and Saskatchewan and half the seats in my province of Manitoba. The Conservative Party of Canada leader received over 6,100,000 votes, almost 250,000 more votes than the governing Liberals did in the last election. Right. Western farmers are rightfully concerned about their livelihood. They're trying to keep their operations running under very difficult circumstances. And they are worried about what's happening to our country right now. Senator Gold, what does the Prime Minister's decision, again, to exclude the leader of the opposition, the leader of a party that received over 6 million votes, say to our Western Canadian farmers? And what does it say to all Canadians that the Prime Minister will meet with Iran's foreign minister, but not with the leader of the opposition?
Senator Gold.
Thank you for your question. Again, I repeat, the position of the government is clear, that it is seeking to work, that it seeks to find a path forward that avoids escalation, indeed contributes towards de-escalation, that avoids rhetoric that pins blame on one group versus taking, as Chief Bellegarde suggested, responsibility collectively for moving forward to resolve resolve this very difficult issue. The government remains committed to finding a timely and peaceful solution to this challenge. It is seized with this. It is aware, as we all are, of the tremendous impact that this is having, not only on the Western farmers, for all Canadians, regardless of which party they may have voted for in the last election.